So I said it before the recording, but thanks for taking some time to help me kind of figure this out. What I'm trying to do is express what I'm kind of the core benefit or purpose of what I'm doing because it's s- slightly different from Canonical Debate Lab and Tim and a lot of the other people and Society Library. Um, but I haven't like been able to distill it real well. And if you don't mind, I'd like to hear, we've been talking over the last year or so off and on. What, if you don't mind saying, what you think your current impression is of what I'm working on? I don't know, that's kind of vague, but
Um,
and
I'm not.
don't feel pressured
I,
to
I mean, I mean,
say
yeah,
anything.
I can say what my impression is, but I fear that I'm not up to date.
Yeah, well, it'd be good just to hear kind of what your impression was over
Yeah,
time, if you don't mind.
yeah. So, my when you first told me about your project, there was reason score, right?
Hmm.
And my impression is that you basically use that score uh, in an automated way, so people communicate with a bot, and the bot asks, uh, kind of guides people into creating an argument tree, and you use that score to guide the bot in turn. Is
Yeah.
that kind of what it is?
No, but
Yeah.
that's a fair observation. Like with everything that I've said, that is probably a decent enough conclusion, and that's part of why I'm doing this. But it's helpful to kind of know kind of where you're starting from. So let me take a whack at why I think a score provides a value uniquely over an argument tree or a collection of arguments. So Society Library and Canonical Debate Lab, the main philosophy is, hey, let's put all the arguments in one place, which is a huge benefit, and organized in kind of a hierarchy so that you can find what you want quickly. And everything's well written, well researched, and both sides of the argument. So that's a huge step forward, um, in helping us kind of understand what the problem that I wanted to solve, and I'm going to say this very clumsily, is that our brains don't have the processing power or memory to evaluate that data, in my mind. Um, like, so Society Library's recent collection that they're going to put out, which is about the California, um, closing down the California nuclear plant, has over 4,000 claims in it.
Yeah,
So even if you could read them all, you would not remember them all. And you would have to use heuristics to evaluate that data. Um,
right.
Now, there's going to be some heuristics involved no matter what. But what I'm trying to do is start migrating or continue the history of the world of migrating things out of our intuition heuristic space and more into kind of a calculable space. So, for example, back before they had automated phone tellers, you might get an argument with your significant other about how much money you have in your bank account because you're both remembering different transactions the last time you looked at the thing. Well, nowadays you just go online and you look at it. So that's no longer a memory, a heuristic sort of thing. It's now a calculated thing.
I see.
And so I,
That means
I
like you share the same current state, kind
yeah,
of, instead of trying to remember
yeah.
information which probably is incomplete or wrong.
Yeah, and not just the information itself, but how the information is. Yeah, so one step beyond that is how the information is evaluated. So, we're both kind of agreeing that, I mean, in the example of finances, that there's a pretty standard thing. So you have your ins and outs, and you have a running balance usually. Although at some point you have to kind of agree, if you're running a business, are you running off cat? Are you doing cash accounting? Or are you doing, expense reporting and stuff like that? Um, so then also kind of agreeing and putting in the system your agreement of how to evaluate that information. Because you might, in your mind, when you calculate your net worth, you may or may not, calculate your car loan in that, because it kind of balances out. The car has a value and the loan has a value. And so you may just choose to exclude that, but the other person dealing with finances might want to include that information.
Right.
Anyways, so yeah,
So
that's something that over the
just
last
to summarize what you said, you basically say it's like everybody has their selective perception and their holes in it, right?
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
And what we
Okay.
want to do is kind of plug as many of those holes as possible. So in the area of argumentation, having 4,000 claims in one place is still better than we have today, where which those claims duplicated millions of times across hundreds of blogs and TV shows and stuff. So having it all in one place is great, but we're not agreeing on or even discussing the evaluation of those claims.
Mhm.
So if you're going to have a debate, two people could still read that, and because they're using different and unspoken evaluation and heuristic evaluation of those claims, they will likely result in, if they come in with different priors, they'll result with a different conclusion, right?
Right.
So yeah, so one way of kind of building agreement is to make it to eliminate as many of those heuristics as possible. So like confirmation bias, right? So if we add a claim into the Society of Libraries document or the Canonical Debate Lab about closing a nuclear plant, people reading that or people knowing that that piece is put in there, that may or may not change their priors. Or they may not do a Bayesian sort of update based on that information, because it either confirms their existing belief or doesn't. So you get different evaluations. But if you have a system to where when they put that in, it automatically, because of this agreed upon scoring, it would automatically change the score until someone comes back. It kind of reduces, it doesn't eliminate, but it reduces confirmation bias.
Mhm.
So I guess that's a fairly decent explanation so far. What does that sound like? It's something that is useful and possible, or neither, or one or the other?
I think it's definitely useful, like to rephrase in my own words, like a system that's looking for holes in argumentation and information in one person tries to find these holes and tries to fill them, instead of just giving that person all the information at once. It just gives them selectively where needed.
Yeah, it may not be an active system. I think I probably will have it be in the end, but right now, if it's just an argument tree, what it does is it makes it easy for the individual reading to find the holes either in the tree or in themselves. So
Okay.
you're doing a diff between your knowledge and evaluation scores and its knowledge and evaluation scores. So you can look at the top, you could look at so you have the top claim and it says 75% confident. You're like, I'm feeling more like 10% confident. And then you can open it up and there's 5 claims, top level claims. And it's like, oh, I agree with this evaluation. This one's false. And it says it's false. I agree with that. This one's true. I agree it's true. So I don't have to read that. And then there's one that says, oh, this one, the system says it's false. I believe it's true. So let's dig into that one. And I can continue down that process, going down a binary decision tree. So I'm, instead of reading the 4,000 claims, I only have to read like 5 or 10. And then I get down and I'm either going to say, there's a claim in here that I didn't know or forgot, or there's a claim that I know that's not in it, or there's some information about weighting, like there's a claim that adds the weight, but still those all end up being claims, even the weighting claims. So then, yeah, and then I'm kind of encouraged, because the score is different, to either correct it with my missing information, or I'm challenged to update my own evaluation based on the new information.
Makes perfect sense. Perfect sense to me.
Okay.
But probably because I'm in the space and I also thought about similar solutions.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. But that does sound like different than anything I've said, and different from what, I mean, no one, like, can you, in all your experience in this space, no one's like seems to be working on that specific piece, right?
As far as I'm aware, no. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I keep kind of it's kind of an obsession at this point. And it may not work. It may be that every debate is too complicated, that a mathematical model to simulate it will be too complicated for humans to understand the interaction between the claims, and they may go, it's
I mean,
just too much work.
that's why abstraction exists, and that's exactly what you do. You say like, oh, this piece, I agree with it. I don't have to dig deeper. That means like I can hide a lot of information that's not relevant to me right now, or that I already know, or yeah.
So if you had to explain it back, how do you think that you might say the whole thing, or the crux of it? Doesn't have to be the whole thing, but the crux of what's different between this and all the other systems. How might you phrase that?
I think the definition I gave in the beginning still fits in my head. But depends now, how's the user interface? Is it a dialogue? Is it like the system shows like one claim at a time to me and I have to say agree, disagree, and that's how it guides me? Or that's how what I thought about when I thinking about my own projects. But what's your interface?
So that's definitely one of the possible interfaces. And I'm not dogmatic about that interface or an argument tree that you explore, which has indicators on how confident the system is, some sort of way to display the scoring in an intuitive way that people can understand it, or walking someone through. I guess my main concern is, does a model, I want to say epistemic model, but Marc Antoine would freak. Does a mathematical model of I can't even say a mathematical model of a human brain, because it's not heuristic at all. So it's a mathematical model of, I don't know, of a rational thinker.
I would call it logic.
Yeah, that's true. It's a simplified logic model.
And humans can only keep logical models of a certain size in their head. And if it's too big, then you need to cut things away. And that's what your software is doing.
Yeah. So I want to see whether it helps, but the actual process flow is, I want to try a lot of different ones. So I probably will make an interface that says, hey, what do you, and especially that interface that says, hey, what do you think? I'll be able to track data, like whether they kind of change their mind and stuff like that. So
And I guess
that'll be important for the actual experiment. So that's probably is the one I'll use first.
and
But
you probably want to find as quickly as possible something the user disagrees with that you think is true, right? Or the
yeah,
other way around, something that you think is false, but the user agrees with, like some mismatch. You want to find the mismatches as quickly as
yeah, and I'm
possible.
trying to decide what to do if they just happen to agree with the top level score. Like if I say 70% and they say, 7 out of 10, what I do at that case, do I just say, hey, explore here's the visualization of the tree and explore that? Or I could also still kind of go in, show them the top level, show them the things that disagree and see if they disagree with any of those and go ahead and explore until they find something
Yeah, I
they
mean, if
disagree
it's
with.
like 70% confidence, then the 30% and the 70%, like the two parts, like one is like the things that the system considers to be true, and the other part is what the system considers to be false. And you have to check if these two parts actually match. And
What they think.
since that disagreement patch is smaller, maybe that's a good idea to start with that first.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
not
most
sure.
likely,
Yeah.
yeah. If I popped up the things that most people have said, I mean, they may know that those things are false, kind of the myths on their side of the debate, but they may not. So that may be the ones to kind of show and just keep going until we find a disagreement. And if I
Mhm.
don't, then I guess that's data.
Yeah. I mean, I see a bit that by trying to find a mismatch as quickly as possible, maybe recommender systems would work if you have data from multiple people.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
And then like,
so the score kind of guides you in that a little bit when there's a disagreement, but when there's agreement, it's a pretty big. I mean, you still can just show them the top level one and say, "Do you disagree with any of these five?" Right? So it's still doable. But in the other case, if they disagreed, if they were like on the opposite side of the debate, I would show them things that the system thinks is false that the other side has said, that things that so that's stuff they might believe in, and then I'd show them some things that the side the system believes is true has I mean really kind of what I almost need to show them is yeah almost like what's most popular but inaccurate.
like common misconceptions, kind
Yeah.
of.
Um
That's
yeah,
why I'm
so
saying
finding
mismatch, and that's why I'm saying mismatch, because it's not about I believe it's true and the system believe it's false, or uh it's the same. Like it's just I believe something different than the system.
yeah,
And that's what you want to highlight and show
yeah,
and
yeah.
drill into.
Cool. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your
I
time.
mean,
I
did
think
that
that was
help?
helpful.
Yeah, okay.
It's good to know that someone else understands what I'm doing. I
Yeah, but
tried to explain it to someone else who's of course not in the space and he wasn't able to do it. Although I explained it to my brother who's definitely not in the space, but I've talked with him more.
Mhm.
Um so yeah, I just eventually gonna need to find the language that the average person can kind of or well, I don't need them to understand exactly what I'm doing. So this is more for like the academic side or other people in the space. What the other people are, what the average person that's countering it, and that's why I'm thinking of actually going to like Reasonpedia, saying that this is just a what's the verbiage I have? So I say it's funny because you were talking about holes, and I don't know if I showed this one to you yet. Where's the share screen?
Mm.
So we got Reasonpedia, easily find holes in popular arguments.
Yeah.
Mathematical models of popular and useful claims. Of course, people are gonna I was trying to find out for my wife. Unfortunately, she's an accountant, so she's gonna understand mathematical models more than the average person.
Yeah. I'd say I can relate to, or I suspect that people without the background understand like finding holes in argumentation, not just in popular arguments. Yeah, okay, argumentation is probably the same. But like the mathematical models, like people who don't like math are just completely drawn away from it. And it's not even necessary, as you said, that they understand how the system works. It's really just like you have this magic system that finds holes in argumentation. That's the important thing. And what's the outcome for the user? The outcome for the user is probably something changed their mind and they actually agree, like they learned something. Right?
Yeah, and that's a potential benefit. So I'm just putting that so I'll remember to consider.
Yeah,
just
but why would a user use it?
Yeah, I think it's mostly the reason they're attracted to use it is well the two use cases is one is well three use cases. One is you hear something about a nuclear power plant, you kind of want to know what's going on. That's
Mhm.
not really represented here. The another use case is you have a crazy uncle and you just want to send them somewhere and say, hey, go to Reasonpedia, tell me what's wrong there, and let's have the discussion after you've looked at it, because I don't want to talk to you about it in the middle over
That's a
Thanksgiving
good
dinner.
phrasing, I think. Tell me what's wrong there.
Yeah.
Because they think they're right. Like, because everybody in their own mind thinks they're right. And I think that's also like one of the motivation why people edit Wikipedia, because they think, oh, there's something wrong there, I'm gonna correct it. Right? Or there's something missing.
Yeah.
And with this kind of mindset, which is more constructive, you basically ask people, hey, can you please point out what you think is wrong here?
Yeah.
And then they but that's like the cover story, kind of.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the end, I hope their mind will change,
Mhm.
but
But
that's
it's
not
like
a selling
if you
point.
exactly, if you start with that,
Come here and
probably
change your
not.
mind.
Yeah. I mean, there was this website, Change My Mind, right? And there's
Change
also
my
this,
view. Yeah.
or Change My View.
Yeah.
And
But
there's a
that one,
subreddit.
yeah, that one, yeah, yeah, that's a very small subsegment, but yeah,
But I
that's what
think
you're saying.
that's for people who already have a doubt.
Yeah.
But you probably want to reach the people who think they are right.
Yeah. So
And
I think
yeah.
the main kind of marketing for the site will be for the crazy uncle. And actually, it won't even, the landing page won't be this because it's rare that someone will go to the homepage. It'd be more like I'm having my uncle brings up guns at Christmas or whatever, and I'm like, okay, here's a link to Reasonpedia about that. Go look there and tell them what's wrong, and I'll get notifications if they update their information. It's like, okay, so hands off. So
You
then he
kind
come in.
of get updated on what he's doing by your recommendation, by your link.
Eventually, I would have it
Mhm.
to where you could
Interesting.
subscribe to get notified anytime we update the analysis,
Yeah.
because it's still very curated. Just because of people are so bad at making arguments, and it's easier to. I don't have enough people.
Mhm.
Um,
Of course. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
and then the other thing is if someone just wants to learn about it, then this may not be as attractive to them, but I think they'll understand that if it's thorough enough.
just have two different landing pages to the same product.
Yeah, maybe.
Don't try to package it all at once. One for, hey, I want to get up to date on this current topic, and let my agreement and disagreement basically guide me through where I'm less informed, guide me through the argument tree where I'm less informed. and the other one is like, please tell me where you think it's wrong. I think these are two different use cases.
Kind of like see all sides.
Yeah. I'm not sure if people are attracted to the word argument.
No, I mean that's true in general. If they're in this headspace of that may be the right word for them to identify what they're doing. Because that's actually what they'd probably be looking for when they're thinking about this, but I'm not sure about that. Do you have any other suggested words?
More something like,
I mean, it could be debate, but people think of that as very formal.
I would just call that like information, like not even something that has a side. Because when you're reading a comment in a newspaper or whatever, you know that either it's a view from one side or it's like is a view from many sides or whatever, but like you actually don't care because you just want to get informed. Like people read blog articles and it's just like one specific view from that person. Even though there are many arguments in there, people like don't recognize it as an argument.
Yeah, but these are specifically, I mean, you're coming here because someone's disagree, because you're a part of or witnessing a disagreement.
Yeah, I'm just saying like these are two use cases. I talked about the, hey, I want to get informed about the topic thing. For the other one, I agree. Yeah.
So, but that wouldn't even include all sides. It would be using, yeah, I can't think of how to phrase that, but that's something to think about.
Discover new points of views. Because like I probably have an opinion already when I go in there.
Usually,
Yeah.
when I started all of this, though, two of my friends were arguing about something that I had no opinion on, but I don't know how common that is.
It's similar to like the idea like why do I go to Wikipedia? I just want to know more about that topic.
Yeah.
Right? But instead of Wikipedia, which is like encyclopedia, where I think, okay, everything that's in there is true, the topics that you probably have on your platform are the ones where there's incomplete information and not a clear truth or not a clear agreement from society. So it's, but I think the motivation is similar to Wikipedia, just that you get more information out of arguments because you know, oh, these are not necessarily true, they're just like a point of view.
Yeah.
But I think the motivation is the same as looking something up in Wikipedia.
Yeah. So that's definitely, these are my three main, well, so it's this one. I want to know more about a contentious issue.
Correct.
But not even mentioning issue or contentious. Is kind of your suggestion on that.
Yeah, and with the other use case, I fully agree, like crazy uncle.
Yeah.
That happens. But I think you have to like approach it differently. Like just sending people, I don't know, sometimes I tried a lot. Like I also have people I know who are a bit off. Just sending them articles that like go against their opinion don't help.
Yeah,
right?
I um yeah, and that's that's one of the things that kind of triggered this is I wanted to find a piece of content that would work more frequently than sending someone an article. Like it it has worked in the past. I've seen it sending someone a good article in the past work. It's just not very frequent.
Okay. Yeah.
So having a piece of content that works, but specifically or works more higher percentage, right? I didn't want to generate content that works through I mean, this sounds negative. I don't mean it negative, but like using people's heuristics to change their mind. Like I didn't want to do something story based, something graphic based. I want to do something that changes their mind because it's logical and factual and backed up,
Yeah.
not because the presentation is
Based on their own insights, kind of.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
They
also based
they
on
get the idea themselves from reading your small pieces of content.
yeah, hopefully.
So yeah, like, and what I see is that like the difference to like an article I send to someone, the article is usually a huge package of different arguments, which might be overwhelming, especially if you disagree with some premises, then you like kind of cannot really read this thing.
Right.
Um,
And
but
they
if
are
you,
usually it's hard to find unbiased content.
yeah, exactly. But if you give them something like a link and where they get like one by one tiny chunks of things they can agree or disagree with, then you actually can get to the core of their misconception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I always imagine something like a TikTok interface, by the way, that where you have like a smartphone, just like the claim, and then you have like a swipe to agree, a swipe to disagree, and then it kind of just guides you.
That's really good. I may steal that.
Please do.
I don't know if I have it in here. There's I was gonna no, I guess so yeah, I was somewhere I'm documenting. I just haven't written down the kind of the walkthrough of the questionnaire. It's kind of a questionnaire, so yeah, it would pop up and ask you to rate the main statement, and then it'd pop up a few things, and
yeah,
no more than
kind of like
five, maybe less, and have
yeah,
you
or
click
just
like
like continuously because it's just one by one, and
well,
you
yeah,
stop
the
whenever
interesting
you
thing
want.
about swiping now, there is one quirk though, is that there's two things that they might be agreeing with or disagreeing with, and I haven't figured out how to make this clear. One is the evaluation of the claim, and one is the claim itself. Um, so maybe I could just pop up the claim, but I need to kind of know how much they agree or how much they disagree, or maybe not.
Is that so important? How much?
Yeah,
I mean, regarding your score, yes, but
I mean it's good to challenge that assumption in me. So, yeah, I guess if you're doing the quiz interface, you could first see whether they agree with the claim. It's just I guess kind of how you phrase it. And I guess you could reverse it then. So like if your claim was concealed carry laws reduce crime, then they could easily agree. But if you put it as concealed carry does not reduce crime or concealed carry does not reduce crime significantly, there might be some ambiguity of what the disagree means. Because they might be disagreeing with but we could phrase them all as pure Boolean pro arguments, like don't use any negatives.
yeah,
Because agreeing for one is kind of, they're not always reversible, but
I see.
so
And
if
also
it's a
like
straight swipe interface, you might need to change the phrasing a bit.
Does your model have agreement with support, for example? Like saying like I think it's called warrant.
I mean, in theory, yeah, because if you have a pro and then you have another pro underneath it, it's just you don't need the other pro underneath it unless someone put a con, because everything's assumed to be true. So
Yeah, but let's say I mean like it's about relevance, I guess. Then we have but you have this claim and then you have a pro argument. You disagree with the claim, but you agree with the pro argument, but you disagree that the pro argument is actually relevant to that claim, that it actually supports it.
So yeah, in the system, you would put a claim underneath it that's claiming that this is not relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I call that importance because you can also
Or
say that this
importance.
claim is more important than the other claims, just as a simplification. But yeah, although right now I don't have a way to say this claim is not relevant at all. But I haven't.
Yeah, but it's like a more in-depth model that's probably not needed in the first iteration.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
and if you can effectively do the same of saying that it's untrue, because then it'll take the weight out,
Mhm.
even though it's not semantically correct.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the police system?
Yeah.
I have the whole idea of this questionnaire from them. And what they basically do is they give out these questionnaires to a mass of people, and then they're basically trying to find clusters in the opinions, and they're clustering the people based on their opinions, and then they're trying to find where it's pol.is.
Oh,
yeah.
I forgot.
This one, yes. And then they've tried to find common ground and let people add new statements and common ground. So it's not at all an argument tree behind it. It's really just like agreement and disagreement alignment.
Yeah.
And then finding common ground. But like the whole idea of the questionnaire and like doing some and having a recommender system in there, I find really good. And I think this could apply to other tools as well.
I know I've seen it in the past.
If you what's enough, I would say, is like just click around in their wiki. There's not too much content in there, but like the content is very well explained, I think. Like the algorithms part and so on.
Do you see a link to their wiki?
That is there. You're already in the wiki. They only have the wiki.
Oh, this is it.
Yeah, this is it. And then okay, that's like how you use it. But if you go back at the bottom of this explore list, like algorithms, like yes, this one. Yeah, UMAP is a cool tool for dimensionality reduction, but that's like just imagine PCA, but like more advanced.
Yeah, I'll have to look at it again.
Yeah. But like
yeah,
that's not the most important thing. Like algorithms is just like what they're using underneath, but then like the whole FAQ is probably useful.
Or what usage overview? Maybe they show some of the polls. Topic moderation.
That's more how you use it, I think.
It's funny
the other
how
one.
many technologies you can't I just want to see what the interface look like.
You can. I think you just have to log in and then you see it. But like screenshots would be nice, of course.
Yeah.
But it's always changing, so the screenshots are always outdated. Yeah, whatever. Take your time to dig through it. It's not so much. It's actually doable in an hour, I guess. Anything else I can help you with?
No, I think that's really helpful. I appreciate you working through it, and it's nice to know that that at least I'm understood by someone who's in the space. So now I just gotta generalize it to more people.
Yeah, I mean,
Cool,
like
man.
you're in the startup space anyway, so like selling and making a good landing page and actually explaining
Yeah, it's
complicated
really one
product
of the
are
hardest parts.
yeah,
Almost as hard as naming.
yeah, true.
All right, man. Well, I'll see you at the next CDL meeting.
Yeah. See you, Bentley.
Bye bye.
Bye.